Now, on a cold call, you might get thrown some objections by the prospect you're talking to. So you might be pitching to them, you might be, running through your spiel, and they might stop you. They might ask you a question. Or as you try to go for the close and set up next steps, they might ask you some questions. And what we're going to do is run through, really just 3 of the most common ones here. But what we're going to talk about, you can really apply to any type of question that they ask you or any type of objection they ask you to moving forward. And when we say objection, we just mean that's the prospect kind of pulling the brakes, right? They're saying like, whoa, slow down. I don't know if I'm into this. I don't know if I want this. I don't know if I need this. And your job as a sales rep is to hopefully overcome that objection and get them to move to the next step, assuming that they're still a good prospect that we want to talk to, right? Assuming that they meet our ICP, assuming that we think we can help them. We want to help ease their mind as far as, hey, this isn't a real objection. You do want to keep talking. You do want to take a closer look. So let's dig into a couple of these here. One objection that you probably might get, because the pitch that you give is going to be short and sweet to the point, is they might ask you, what exactly does your product do? Or I don't understand what your product does. Or help me understand, elaborate a little bit on what your product does. So the temptation here is to really get into the weeds and talk about all the features, the technical pieces of the product, how we actually do what we do, but resist that. You want to stay high level. You want to talk about the benefits. You want to talk about the value your product brings to that company. And you can sprinkle in some features in there. You can sprinkle in some details in there just to keep them happy. But at the end of the day, we want to focus on the benefits, the value as much as possible. So the way I would answer this question is they say, hey, Mitch, Canary sounds interesting, but tell me exactly like what do you do? I would just say, oh, hey, that's a great question, Mr. Prospect. You know what? We help companies streamline and automate the check-in process to save teams time and to ultimately improve guest happiness. We do this through our mobile app. And I would love to show you our app in action, actually, and show you how it would look at your hotel. Would you be open to taking a closer look maybe this Friday at 2 p.m.? We can sit down, walk through exactly what this would look like, answer any questions you have on the product, and see if this even makes sense for you and your team. So see how I take that question, I give him a little bit, right? I want to give him a little bit, but I don't want to even pause before I go into that next steps, right? I want to immediately go from question to answer to action items, right? Let's land the next step. Let's get your hands on the product, Mr. Prospect, so that we can answer all these questions for you. So another common one is asking about how you're different from competitors. So they might say, hey, how are you different? How's Canary different than competitor X or this other company I've heard of? So again, you want to try to keep this high level. It's going to be so hard to do feature by feature comparison on the phone on a cold call. You want to kick this to the next call. So I would just answer with a high level differentiator statement. Something like, the main difference between us and the other competitor is that our solution is 10 times easier to implement and use. Your staff can be trained and ready on it in under a day, and your customers are going to have a really easy time using it as well. That's the biggest feedback we hear time and time again. We actually had 4 customers, even last year, come over onto our solution over that competitor. And I'd love to show you what this looks like. How does next Friday at 10 a.m. look for us to walk through this platform in action and show you hands-on what it would look like at your company? So again, answer with a high-level answer and then move on to next steps. Move on to getting them engaged with you. The last question you might hear, or the last rebuttal you might hear, something like, I'm just not that interested in learning more. Or, hey, this doesn't sound like it's right for us. Now, at this point, the prospect's kind of already made up their mind. So what I would do is just say, hey, I totally understand. It's this product isn't for everybody. I'm just curious, have you already solved this problem? And see if they have, right? If it's something they've already solved, maybe they're not a good fit for you. Maybe it's not a prospect you even want to be talking to. You want to go spend your time somewhere else. But if they say, no, we actually do struggle with this, then ask a little bit more. Well, what is it that you're not interested about then? Would you be open to a 20-minute call just to take a look? And then you can decide if it's right for you or not. So it's okay to go back to that ask, but figure out, are they just trying to get you off the phone? Have they actually already solved this? Is it even a real problem for them? That's how I would handle those objections, but always go back to the ask. Always try to set up that next step after you've answered the question.